so much for joining us. I know you've been working hard. 2,800 plus children drop out from primary, secondary school. I know the work that you've been doing at the St. James Youth Club. Now, when you look at these figures, again, I mean, this represents young students. We're talking about the future of our country, the young minds that need to be shaped and molded and what have you. And some of the things that you do at the center, of course, is to deal with high-risk youth. And some of the things that are done that can help avoid juvenile delinquency involvement is improving education, youth employment opportunities, enhancing social skills, youth mentors, and adult role models. Tell us, I mean, are these some of the things that are, of course, taking place at the center?
Well, first of all, let me, for the benefit of that figure, while it's alarming, I am sure that if you do an in-depth analysis, you will find this figure going somewhere in the vicinity of much more. And I say that on the backdrop of my 30 years experience working with young people. You would know, Mikee K, in 2011, we established the first suspension center. And the suspension center objective was to ensure that young people's time was occupied. Suspension was seen as a gift. It was seen as a status. It was, children look forward to being suspended. And I met with several teachers in Western Division along with the principal. And I offered my center so that students who are suspended, their time will be occupied. And as a result of the suspension center, we were able to unearth, even while children were in uniform, they were not functioning students.
Right.
And it goes to the fact that those who knew that there were children who in Form 3 that cannot read and write, it brought about a serious difference in terms of those who would have dropped out and have lost faith in the education system. Mikee K, my brother, we made recommendations, both as a community police officer and somebody working in the trenches, that first of all, should develop what they call a junior life center in order to, as a catch for those who would have faltered during the way. As we speak, most of the junior life centers have been closed down. There's absolutely no funding. And as a result of that, you will appreciate that young people between the ages of 11 to 15 are left unattended. We look at...
Let me stick a pin in that there, Officer Sharbodie. And this is what affects... It really and truly throws me off when I hear this statement, lack of funding. I mean, it's all good and well to have the data. It's all good and well to have the figures and everything, all the geographical location, all the statistics. But at the end of the day, in order to solve the problem itself, to get to the root of it, it takes funding. You and your team work night and day interacting with these young people. And the rest of society may sit by and say, you know what, we have to deal with these monsters. And one thing you keep hearing, every time there seems to be these crimes that are taking place, it seems that the people who are doing it are younger and younger and just getting younger. Master Control, you have that with the chain. Yeah, I'm just showing something here. Now, the first thing they're going to say is, look at these monsters. Look at them. They're wayward. They're no good. Whatever the case may be, they've fallen through the cracks. But when you and your team are trying to help and do work, nobody seems to care to reach out and to assist. This is a man he's going to purchase something. I mean, he's not really aware of what's going on in the surroundings there. He's thinking, well, all right, it's all good and well. But a young man then pulls out a revolver, chain gone, and that's it. And the first thing we're going to call for, is for their heads. We want to be social, judge, jury, and executioner, But when it comes to laying out the resources for people like and yourself to help that we don't have to label these young men as monsters and that they're falling through the cracks, there seems to be some hesitancy. It seems to be very reluctant to bring about the money that's going to help with these programs. How challenging is that?
Well, you made some salient points, and again, I would want to applaud you and indicate to you that even for funding, you would know that the private sector must play a fundamental role, and there's no time to talk the fun talk, the funding this and the funding that. If a child's education is paramount, do you know how much money it is to house a lad in YTC? It is almost $5,000 to $10,000 I'm talking about for 1 week to house a lad in YTC. I'm not even talking about St. Jude's home and the other homes that children are incarcerated. 90% of the young people, and I say it without any fear, as a result of illiteracy, that's why, unfortunately, they choose a particular unfortunate lifestyle. When we found out and we brought in the guidance officer and we brought in several stakeholders to look into the question of illiteracy in school, it was taken with unfortunately a slice of bread. It was taken seriously. We showed them that, listen to me, why would you have a child in Form 1 doing 13 subjects and cannot read and write? At least start with remedial work with math, English, and probably one trade. And ensure that child develops the art and skill of basic fundamental subjects and then move on. As we speak, we have Form 1 students that are not functioning and they're just here disrupting the class, eventually get suspended, then they get a long-term suspension, they're out of the school system, and guess what? They're in the hands of the criminal element and they're in the hands of, unfortunately, the gangs that is doing a recruiting drive. The police club can only do so much, and you know that we would want to do much more. Again, funding is a necessity. We spoke about the community centers. We expressed that the community centers should be open and there should be retirees, people who would have left the school system who can come back and teach these kids who would have fallen through the cracks. Because every division would have listed the children who were unsuccessful with SCA. SCA by itself, it is very unfortunate because you cannot deduce and cannot select a one exam and determine a child's potential. That is counterproductive.
And I agree with you, officer. Now, when these young individuals who are socially broken end up in your care, give us an idea of the mindset. How do they evolve into what we would brand as monsters? How do they come about being monsters? I mean, this is not something that happens overnight. I mean, you're talking a sense of hopelessness. You're talking about, economic struggles. You're talking about the fact that they're not adopting or absorbing the curriculum. So what then? They reach at your doorstep, you get them, but how do you prevent them from evolving further into what we call monsters?
That happens as a result of the elements and the man who's involved in criminal activities has a connect and connected with them right on the community. He knows them, he has them on list. He brought someone into the fore. He makes them feel a false sense of partnership, a false sense of camaraderie. He let them know I have your back. Sometimes they go and they start to do a little hustle. Then they graduate and they move on to holding a gun. And then they elevate. And then I just feel that, okay, obligated. And they feel that, okay, you call me stupid, you call me dumb, you call me backward, you call me ignorant. But yet a man has given an opportunity. It's a hustle. I don't mind. Look at the money, it's easy money. And it is something that I am nice. Look, my son, even though he's not doing well in school, at least he's bringing in something. The steps fixing. I've seen flat screen TV coming in. I've seen, and parents don't mind. And when you have that type of social setting that have been set up to reward the young people, then they will gravitate towards that. And if you don't teach them the value of life and a sense of purpose, and God give them, an opportunity, God will make nobody stupid, they are gifted. Sometimes when they reach to you, there are so many psychological scars that you'll have to keep them in a resident program, because when they go back into the community, they go back facing the same treachery. They feel obligated because of by their geographical space that they live, that they are obligated to belong to a gang. Education is not important. Hustling, making a quick dollar, working for your community leader. You have me nice, he fixing up nice, look at the car he's driving. And, it is that type of lifestyle that is being admired
and I understand your point, and that is where they feel as though they belong, as if there's a sense of belonging, a sense of purpose, because I think when that comes in, and they feel this sort of euphoria about it, this happiness about it, all logic goes out the window, because that is short-lived. How many of these young people live to be over the age of 21 or even 25? But they don't see that. The entire story is not laid out to them. It's just get it now, take it now. Society owes me something, and I'm going to get it by all means. And if it means snuffing your life out, I am going to get it. And you've dealt with these young people. How far, when they reach to you, how far are they from being that monster?
Well, we are very fortunate, Mikee K, that we start, because of what we are seeing, because of we connect the dots, and we are looking at what's coming from the community. We start at the age of 5. There are cases that would come to me that I would have to refer, because I realize, listen to me, it would do injustice if they become a member of the police, because we will have to probably deal with them, as you would say, proper assess them, so that they wouldn't contaminate your under charges. You will see young people coming to tell you that they're ready to dead. They're ready, they are the cutting down, that they don't mind dying, and the dying on soldier, because that is what has been taught to them, and the brainwash, and the mischief, and the terror of training young people into, listen, you can hot up this community, and you will have to probably allow them to speak and allow them to give and to vent. I'm going to let them know that, boy, God has a greater plan for you. You have to bring men with testimonies. I show them graphic pictures with young men who they look up to, who have been dead, whose body has been found, who have been amputated. And sometimes they wake up and say, who is this? I said, who picture is this? I said, watch men look up to him. And therefore, you have to go into what you call a case of, scare straight. Like you scare them into understanding this is how you would end up. This is your life. This is you in this particular position. If you continue, and you really have, people beat up the commissioner of police for talking about prayer. And I tell you, Mikee K, no amount of books, no amount of training, no amount of studies will help you if you don't have sometimes the divine intervention. God saying, God, you gotta help me with this one. God gotta give me wisdom, knowledge on that. Because when you hear how some people are speaking and how they are already set in their ways, because crime starts with what you're thinking, and then it becomes a discussion, and then the behavior then is demonstrated by evidence of it. But when you hear all your people, I think, and you're talking about the boys, the girls too, we are losing the girls. The girls, there's a lot of role reversal, that the girls are now seeing themselves involved with gang and the life of gang, and because it is how it's portrayed, it is how the social media, and it's how it is being marketed, and the incentives, even at the point of death, Mikee K, when there is a funeral, died and how they sent him down in the grave and how he was sent off because I was sold there. So that even death is being used as something that they are, what you call, socializing with.
But they seem to celebrate death more than they celebrate life.
That's right. That's right. And if we do not, your program and those who wish to address it in a real sensitivity, we have no respect for those in the trenches. There are people who are on the ground doing excellent work, who are working and transforming, and they're crying out and they're saying, listen, give me a little more funding, give me a little more assistance, I can reach 10 more children, give me a vehicle to move about with, I will reach a home or two. But unfortunately, negative news is what carries the front page of a paper. And if you do something positive, you're lucky to get it on page 23 or some part of the back page. So that even our media has sent the wrong message to the negative is to be seen. Check the young people who are making papers. Look at the young people when they are placing bracelets and they pull it down, it's on the front page, making news 3 times on the TV. And young people saying, wow, I am here doing all that is constructive, nobody take me on. Look at that, a young fellow who would have gone, he's a bully for a day, he shoot for, and he's on the front, the biggest gangster. Wow. That is something I would like to achieve. So therefore, there has been a twist in terms of morality and integrity. That the new wave now is all bad. If you run things in and so they'll trade. And that type of brainwash is taking place both on the block, in music, in videos. There it is packaged nicely. So we down here at the police club, you have to be very innovative. I bring young men on board who have changed. I bring fellows who were in jail to talk to them. But more than that, you must give them an opportunity to know that there is a second chance. And the businessmen must give young people a second chance. Even if they cannot read, they cannot write. Give them a little start. Give them a little end. Tell them, okay, now that you're working, I want you to go back and do English. Now that you're working, I want you to go back in the class and do a little math. Young people need an opportunity to be given a second chance. And yes, it is that even though I have no passes, but I have discipline, I'm respectful, I know to conduct myself, but I have integrity. Those are some of the fundamental characteristics that should open doors for young people. So we appeal to even the private sector. What young people, Mikee K, does have to leave the youth club, cannot attend camp, cannot attend activities, but they have to go and work because of a single situation at home. So I can't attend camp this year. And as I leave school, some other time I will not be able to come back to the club again. And they have to go out and look for it.
That's right, because there's no money.
People was supposed to be in Easter camp with us this week. I call them, the sister, I really would not be able to come camp. I get a little end, and I look into it.
Hold 1 second, just put up that camp thing, Master Control. The camp is this week as we run out, we come inside. So it's the St. James Police Youth Club. They're having their Easter Bonanza camp, and that's from April 3rd to the 15th. So it started today, am I correct? Ages 5 to 17. And
that's right.
Right, so can they still register?
Yes, register ends on Wednesday.
Registration ends on Wednesday. So be a part of that. The young ones, ages 5 to 17, the St. James Police Youth Club, they present their program for Easter, the Easter Bonanza Camp, April 3rd to the 15th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., and ages 5 to 17. There's indoor and outdoor activity. Closing comments, go right ahead.
We would like to call on the private sector, the powers that be, those who have foundations, to get involved and set up activities, apprenticeship program, men who have garage, allow young people between the ages of 11 to 15 where they can go and become mechanics, masonry. They can start at that age because some of those children may not be gifted in the area of maths, English. They may have a slower pace. But we appeal to those who would want to take a young man or two. We appeal appeal to the community
And to help
sectors,
out.
you know, to assist in that regard.
All
And
right.
we also feel that the police club has played a fundamental role, and see the police club adds value to the development of our nation's youth.
Thank you so much, Officer Sharbodie. It's been a pleasure. All the best to you and your team. Keep up the good work. And folks, register for the camp.